You're listening to the Hot Topics podcast with Psycho4081, the lovely Lady Lamb Chop, and the fabulous Felonious Feather. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Hot Topics podcast. Now, we did take a little break and decided to do this particular episode solo because I'm going to talk about something that's really solo. In the meantime, we said we had a break. We're doing a little moving and a little restructuring and things of that nature. But I'm going to go on and let you guys know what's been going on with the Hot Topics podcast and some other things. So now, for those who did not know, we're relocating and we're going to go up to Jersey for a while and then over to Africa. And then we'll be back over here and see how that's going to play out. But in the meantime, we're going to have some other guests and co-hosts, and Felonious Feather and Lady Lamb Chop. She'll also, chime in during that time. So it's more or less an experimental time for our podcast. But in the meantime, you guys know I'm Psycho4081. During this downtime that I had the opportunity to do some songwriting. And what I decided to do, since I'm gonna be honest, I was in the house and took my TVs up to my sister's house, and I had nothing but just an empty house and me laying on the floor, watching the walls, the ceilings, playing with the cats. I did have my my Amazon Echo Dot, but there's only so much you can do with that. But anyways, so in this idle time, I decided to do some songwriting. And before, I used to write short stories and unfinished novels. I've never finished anything. It always, I had more to add. So the short stories I finished, I just never published them. So I was like thinking, I had nothing to do. And I don't know what triggered me. I think it was just me thinking about certain things in my life, or, certain things I've seen or experienced or heard or whatever. And I just started to, write it out. So what I did was I got my little phone out, my iPhone, and pulled up my notepad, and I just started writing things. Whatever came to my mind, I just started writing. And I have a habit of pacing as well. So me pacing around, I would just write something and it just would come to me. And I would just type. When I say write, I mean type. So just type. And, whatever I start with, it never ends with what I intend. So let's say I might talk about apples and have a thought about apples. But then by the end of the song or the actual, written lyrics, it might be something totally different because my thought process during that time might have changed. So in the midst of us having a break with the between the last podcast and today, I think I wrote about maybe 30 songs. And I wrote the 30 songs. I didn't put all of them to music because some things I didn't like. Some things connected with me. Some things, really connected with me because it was about me. And I won't tell you which songs that's about me, personally, but it might be, about me, but added some other things, some, a mixed thing. So it's pretty interesting to me. You might find it boring, but I like it. So I discovered this app called Suno. And Suno is an AI app that actually makes the music for you. So what I did, I didn't ask Suno to write any lyrics and all that other type stuff. I kind of wanted to put my own stuff out there and then, tell it exactly what I wanted it to do to see how, the lyrics sound with a voice, sort of like a demo, right? So I started with the song, I believe it was the one about my mother. It's called uh, Sweet Mama, and it was basically about my mother and me and my sisters growing up and the things that we went through, and it was basically a tribute to my mother, who's still alive, and about our appreciation for what she's done for us over the years. So we started off with that, and I said we. And you'll get what I'm saying later on. So I started off with that. Sweet Mama took us through the beginning of me and my sisters, and all the way through now with the next generation, coming up. My daughter, the grandkids, the great grandkids, and so forth. So it was a pretty emotional song, and I put it on TikTok, and I got some responses from it. People, liked it and said it made them cry. And I said, okay, that means that the writing worked. If, you can listen to a song and it elicits some type of emotion from you, mission accomplished. So that motivated me to do more. I said, okay, I like this, putting my ideas on, in writing and into music. But more so, it gave me a sense of accomplishment because, like I said, I've always written stories, short stories, poems, whatever. I just never published anything. And a lot of the big stories, the novels or the novelettes, I just never finished because I would have some, you get that energy to keep writing and writing and writing, and then you get no motivation. I'm not gonna say writer's block. I don't think I've ever had writer's block. I just didn't have the motivation to sit back down and start typing again. So I used to leave things unfinished and then start something new because I had a new idea that came to my head, and I wanted to get that down before I forgot everything. And so with writing songs, and it's basically writing poetry, but writing songs, it's different because you don't have to worry about a 1,500 page novel. When you're writing, you putting your ideas down. Every idea is a complete song. So let's give you an example. If I wanted to write a chapter of a book, talking about elves or whatever. Well, anybody knows when you going into books. Now, I don't know how other people write things. Sometimes I like to write things in an outline first, and then for some odd reason, I sometimes go backwards. So, but with a song, you could take the first chapter and maybe the first few pages of your ideas, if you're writing a book, and then that's a song. Like, and I thought about it. I was like, okay, well, I wanted to make a particular movie about a Western, and how I had it played out in my head. The Western, I was inspired by a hip hop group called the Wu-Tang Clan. Now, not that they were into Westerns, but in my head, when I actually visualized my entire story, and I had the Wu-Tang Clan, the members, playing certain characters, and I went to character development. That's kind of what I do when I write, books or whatever. I go into the characters and I write the characters, their background, their personality, and then I add them into the story. So I like to play one character off the other. So anyway, with that said, I ended up writing a country Western song, and who I had in mind. And you hear that noise in the background. That's my heat going because it's cold out here. But who I had in mind was one of the artists on the Wu-Tang Clan, Inspector Deck, or Rebel INS, which is one of my favorite hip hop artists. He's basically, I think, one of the most underrated hip hop artists probably of all time, right? So when I think about that and some of the the rhymes that he says and the whole Wu-Tang Clan, persona, I said I could write a whole freaking movie about these guys, but just change it into a Western, it might be a series or even just a one movie, and, develop the characters on how I would see them playing a particular part. So I started with that. And let me go back. I'm just thinking about that. Actually, I started with a song about President Trump. I did. It was because he just angers me, and not just him, but his supporters. But anyway, I started with excuse me, a song about President Trump, basically called "Slap Yourself," and it was I did like maybe 3. I'm not sure if I want to put those out. They're on social media, but it was nothing serious. I just wanted to make something to irritate certain people who defend him like he's the almighty father, So I said, well, let me write this and put it to music and put it out there just so it'll, annoy people. Sometimes that's what I do. I do things on social media just to annoy people because they annoy me and they say some stupid things and a whole bunch of different things. So that's my way of getting back. So I wrote those and then I got some really good feedback on that on TikTok, actually. And it was only a portion of the song. I think it was like it might have been like 30 seconds of the song. I'm not sure. But, I got a really good feedback on that. So that kind of motivated me more to do some writing and had nothing to do with, Trump or Republicans or any liberals or conservatives, or it had to do with whatever I was thinking at the time. That's what came out and that's what I wrote. So what I ended up doing to date, I have a YouTube page and it's called Psycho4081. So if you go to YouTube and just put at Psycho4081, that's PSYCHO4081. If you go there, you'll see all the videos that I've made. They're songs that I made, but I put the I think it's called Headliner. I used it so I can put it in that format to put it on YouTube. Because the first one I did, it was I pieced it together to make a video. It's not a really good video, but I just wanted to put it on YouTube. So I found an easier way of just putting the music on YouTube, and that was through Headliner. So if you go there, you'll see the first one, like I said, Sweet Mama, and then another one, Don't Want to Sleep. That one is a little tricky because most of the songs that I write, it usually has double, triple meanings, or it'll have it where whoever the listener is, they'll have their own story of what it means, and I get a lot of pleasure in making things like that. So the second one is called Don't Want to Sleep, which is probably my favorite. One of my favorites. I think I have like 5 favorites, but that's one. And then there's a country one called Lion Crying Cheating Man. That's a kind of a funny one, but it's real life stuff. So that's a straightforward a song. And if you get on there and check it out, there's also one called Pretty Peach. I think I did that one. I might have done that one first. Because of my thoughts I had in my head and, remembering back to, things in my past. So I said, I could put this together. That one came easy because it was something was easy to think about. Once you get that motivation, things just start flowing, just like the wind blowing. And then speaking of winds, the next one is called Winds Do Change. That has a double meaning as well, but it's not one of my favorites, but it has meaning, so I like it. And of course, I always have to put a song in there that basically I might tease my friends. Like there's one about my little friend. What's called My Little Friend, and the one that's funny, you can't see it or listen to it unless you have a link. But it's about Lamb Chop, because she's small in stature, so I always make jokes about her size. So that one's called My Little Friend. And I wrote a longer one that was not so funny. It was more serious, but sometimes you can't help the funny stuff comes out, because that's what you have. She and I, we have like a humorous relationship, so you can't help but put something that's, funny or teasing in there. So we have one. Oh, and a lot of these songs have different mixes to it. So I might make one in a R&B style, and I'll, hey, I might send it out to some of my friends or my family. Say, hey, how does it sound? They say, hey, that sounds kind of, like gospel music or country. And I say, okay, well, I'll make it a country one, and then try to change up the music to make it more blues or R&B. Now, the intent was, when I started actually making these songs, the intent was to actually make a blues album, because I like blues. And I was like, well, what better way of, what better way of listening to music is making things that you like to hear. I was like, okay, that sounds pretty much simple. I'll make a blues album. That way, when I want to listen to what I want to hear, I just make that music and I'll listen to it. So there's different mixes, blues, country, R&B. I haven't gotten into the other genres or whatever, but depends on my mood. But there's one called Chocolate Dreams. There's an R&B version. That one you may not be able to see on the YouTube channel, but there's definitely a blues version on there. It might be like 7 minutes long. It's a long one. You start writing, you don't really know how long the songs are going to go on, but that one's a pretty long one. And then there's one called I Ain't Better Than You, You Ain't Better Than Me. And obviously, you could tell by the title that what it's about. So things that comes in, and it's about people who always want to think that they're better than the next person for whatever reason. Maybe it be religion, wealth, ethnic background, whatever. Then I have one that I put on there about my daughter. that was actually a true story, but it was made just to mess with her, because her birthday was coming up, and I was like, I'm gonna play this at a birthday party. She's gonna hate it. So I made that one. That was called Skittle Diddle Puddin' Pie. And then I have another one called I Really Love This Man. That one's kind of real life type stuff. And once you listen to it, you'll understand what it's talking about. And some of you may be able to connect with it. Some of you may not, but it's real life stuff. And there's one that's called Oh Teacher, Oh Teacher. Obviously it's about a teacher. Then there's one called Marriage in Danger. That's the original version. Start the Revolution. That's about the things that's going on, around on this planet. And we have one dedicated to African women. And when I say African women, I mean all African women in the entire diaspora. That means African American, however you want to call yourself, African Americans, Afro-Caribbean, Southern Africans, West Africans, East Africans, whatever. That's the entire diaspora. That's what that's for. It's a tribute to them. My appreciation to you. And an old friend of mine, we had a birthday, and I said, maybe I'll write a song. And I think the song part came after I thought about it, and I said, all right, I have stuff I can say, put it in the song, and that'll be something different than just saying, hey, happy birthday, So I did that one. You Got a Birthday. And one was Sexy Nurse. That one was inspired by something I was watching on social media. Nothing, wasn't nothing personal or anything like that. It was just something that got me to write this. Then there's one called Love Got Me in Trouble. That was only a song that was supposed to be playful. I'm going to actually take that down and have a rewrite of that coming up sometime soon. I did one called Big Sister, obviously, for my big sister. That one's a true story, actually. And that was something I wrote because whatever I was thinking about, it inspired me at the time. And Troubled Girl is funny, right? And I think at the time, my daughter, she was irritating me. She's 19, just turned 19. She was irritating me for some odd reason. I can't remember what it was. And we was driving. She was in the passenger seat. and I started thinking about Troubled Girl. Oh my gosh, she doesn't get in trouble, but she's causing me trouble, put it that way. And I was going to make a song, basically to another teasing song, but when I started writing it, more of the motivation of the title Trouble Girl came from, what I've seen and what I've heard, not involving my daughter whatsoever. So that changed into a different song. And then Secret to Keep, that's a good one too. That's straight and forward, like a fun type of song. Excuse me, fun type of song. So that was pretty decent. But we want to break for a commercial. Okay, we're back. We're talking about the songs Trouble Girl. I think people will know about that when they're in Secret to Keep. There's going to be somebody out there that's going to know what that's about. I think it's pretty straightforward, but I say they can connect to it some sort of way. And The Problem Is You, that is a country song. Now, mind you, the funny thing about this, I don't really like country music. I'm not a fan of country music. Some country music songs I do like, but I'm not overall. I don't listen to country music. I do think that a lot of the country singers have great voices and, can sing. It's just something that I would never tune into. But that one's called The Problem Is You. And if you go to YouTube and you see it, you'll know what it's about. I won't say too much about that because that's pretty self-explanatory. And then another favorite of mine, I'm saying that's a favorite, Go or Stay, because it's pretty short. It's only 3 minutes long. And I try to make most of the songs at least 4 minutes and some seconds, or about 5 minutes or less. But that one's 3 minutes long, but it was something that came easy to me because of something that was on my mind. And you'll see that there's another one called I'm Ready for This New Thing. Don't know what to say about that. That's something, there's some random stuff that just popped on my head, and I try to, some things might be embellished. So, but it's a fun song, I think. Then when I was talking about the Wu-Tang Clan, there's a song called The Gambler. That's what that's about. It's something, it has nothing to do with the Wu-Tang Clan, but that was my motivation behind it, was to make something that would go to like a soundtrack or something along those lines. And that's a pretty long song, but it's pretty descriptive. And then we have all right, I'm gonna tell you where my favorites are. Let's go back to The Gambler. Then there's a Genocide in Palestine. So that one probably be controversial to some people, but it's straightforward. It's all factual stuff. But some people, depends on, I guess, what your perspectives are. Some say it might be offended by, some people may not, but I'm gonna put it out there because I'm Psycho4081 and I say what's on my mind. There's one called Party Queen, and there's an extended mix that's like almost 6 minutes, but it's talking about a woman who parties a lot and some of the things that they go through. Now, I'm not gonna say this is a true story, but it's close to a true story, and obviously, I like to make it somewhat interesting, so just keep that in mind. And there's another song called No More. And honestly, I know what that was about. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but it's basically about the trials of a particular person and what they're going through. And when you look at it, it's a story, and it may have some twists and turns in there. So just keep that in mind. Now, Road Tripping, which is one of my favorites. It's about almost 5 minutes long. And with Road Tripping, that's a true story, basically. And it's not just a one story thing. It's basically true stories with an S, bits and pieces that I put together about, road tripping, and that was fun to make. I guess it was like kind of you reminisce and you making something that's lighthearted but almost risque. And that was nothing till I started to do copies of every song I wrote. I was telling Lamb Chop, I was like, I should make an X-rated version of each of these songs. Like if this was an album, I would have like 5 songs on one side and 5 songs on the other, or do a 10 album song and then another album with the same 10 songs, but be adult rated. And when I say X rated, I just mean adult rated. It don't have to be raunchy or anything like that. No 2 Live Crew, whatever, but just adult stuff, right? And Timeless. You Are Timeless. Now, You Are Timeless is another one of my favorite songs, and I think that's something that didn't just come to me. It was something I was just thinking about, and I said, you know what? I'm going to make a song about this. So let me think about it. That was one of the songs I actually had to, I sought out and said, let me write about something. And if anybody out there right now listens to that song and they tell me what it's about, then I would take out of my pocket $50 and send them $50. Just send me your Cash App, your Zelle, whatever it is. I will give it to you. If you could tell me what that song is about. It's called Timeless. Okay. And it's only 4 minutes long, but it's pretty good, I think. This was another fun song. It's called, this is a blues song. It's called The World Is Unkind. All right, about 5 minutes long. And that one, surprisingly enough, came to me pretty easy when I think it probably shouldn't, but it did come to me pretty easy. So check that one out. It's one of my favorites. And, like, again, sometimes there's things that have double meanings, and sometimes there's some twists and, turns or surprise endings or whatever have you. So check that one out and let me know what you think. And there's a blues version of There's a Genocide in Palestine. And another version of I Ain't Better Than You, You Ain't Better Than Me. Then, this one here is one of my favorites. It's called You Keep Telling Me. I was in the kitchen and I started typing up something and I was like, whilst I always have to be occupied with something. I think I might have been washing dishes and going from this place to this place, but I started typing this up and it just kept rolling. I said, okay, now I got a good song, and let's see what it sounds like. So that one's called You Keep Telling Me. Now, when you listen to that one, tell me what that one's about. I'm not giving it should be sort of easy, but let me know what you thought about it, and let me know what actually is going on in the song. It's not going to be part of that prize, because the prize is for Timeless. Okay. And there's It's Over. And It's Over. That's about a relationship. And it's not a happy song, obviously, because it's about, breakups and all of those things that happen with breakups. And then Better Humans. That one was kind of, I'm not gonna say it was easy, but it was something I had a lot to say, and I had to figure out how to put it together in a song, and in, where it's not 20 minutes long. So Better Humans, 4 minutes, 55 seconds. That's what it's about, being better humans. Let me know what you think about that. And There's a Better Way. That one's about all the things that's going on right now. 2026, January. It's about that, a particular subject. And it won't be too hard to figure that one out, but let me know what you think about it. And then we'll actually get into a conversation or discussion about that particular subject. Then I have one called Still My Little Sister. Obviously, I had to do one. I did one for my mother, did one for my older sister, and my younger sister. Like I said, these are kind of easy because, I know them all my life. I lived with them, growing up. And it's just things that I feel, what I see. And I don't have to be something, emotional about them, but it's just things, what I think about them, what I like about them, things like that. And then this one actually hits home to me right here. It's called Crazy Dreams. That is 100% me, right? I always have these crazy dreams. That's what that song's about. and hopefully you guys will like it. It's less than 4 minutes, but it's it's a pretty accurate dream. Accurate song. So then the next one is called, the final was called "You Are Amazing." And I do have some more that I wrote, but I just haven't put it to music or and I'll go into that next. But "You Are Amazing" is basically, it was inspired by the first verse was inspired by a friend of mine from back home, and then I try to take different pieces of different things and put it together. But that's what started me. But let me tell you how these things get made. So again, all the lyrics are mine. There's no AI written lyrics. These are mine. It's from the mind of this crazy Psycho4081, and that's the fun part about it, the enjoyable part. Now, I like listening to these songs because it's what I wrote, and it's has meaning for me, and I hope you will find some meaning in it also, even if it's not the same meaning that I have intended. And that's the key. So when I put these things together, I said I like blues music, and you really don't hear too much about blues. Like, even if I select it on Amazon Music, you get the same few songs, So I said I'm gonna make a blues album, basically. And so what I did was I wrote the lyrics, and then on Suno, if you can actually have Suno write your lyrics for you, write the music. All you have to do is say, hey, type in some type of prompt, write me a song about cats and dogs or whatever, and it'll come up with something, whatever it is. I don't like that because I like, it makes it more personal and more you, once you put your thing into it. Like I said, it's bad enough that it's AI, but these are my lyrics that I put in there, because you can put your own lyrics in there. You don't have to use their lyrics. You can put your own lyrics in there, and then once you do that, you actually can program the music, so to speak. So, for example, what you would do is, let's say I might pick the genre, and let's say I might say blues, and then I might choose the tempo. I might choose what instruments I want, and I try to pick out the instruments that I like, instruments that I've heard before, and whatever. I might want to do something that's only 2 or 3 instruments, or might be an ensemble of whatever. And sometimes I just want to give it a bluesy feel, or sometimes I just want to hear different musical instruments. So I'll do that. You can select whether you want it to be a male voice or female voice. And when I write certain songs, I have certain artists in mind to sing these songs. So you'll see most of the songs are going to be female artists. And I started actually saying, well, you know what? Maybe I should write songs that's not male or female, where both can fit in there. So that was a little change. I had to go back and rewrite some things, and I'm probably going to rewrite some more. Like I said, these are just demos, because I want to actually put this together in a full full album with real vocalists, and bring some studio musicians in there and put it together and make my changes. So this gives me an idea of what I want to hear, but I can start that and then make the changes I want. So you do that. You put your let's see what else. You different instruments, the genre, the type of feeling you want, and I just throw things in there that I how I envisioned in my head, and then boom, set it through. And then sometimes it gives you a good product, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you might want to redo it over, or you might want to change it into a different genre, or even take some instruments out, add some instruments. I had a person tell me, this is a person from the kingdom of Eswatini, said they played a certain instrument. I forgot what the instrument was, but I said, you know what? I looked it up, and I like the sound of it. I said, let me think of a song that would fit, because certain instruments, give you certain feelings. Like if you lighthearted, you might want to put the xylophone in there, if you're thinking of something that's lighthearted. So that's how I actually put those songs together. And sometimes it takes me a while to get there because I don't always like what they put out, and I'll always make changes, or I might go back and redo the lyrics where it fits. That's my cat, y'all. Me and her, she and I have been stuck in this house for a long time, and that's what she does to me. She's so needy cat. So, but anyway, that's how I put the songs together. And if you want to go to the YouTube again, it's Psycho4081, which is obviously my name. And you'll see the logo up there with neon, Psycho4081 Productions. That's what we do this under. And the publishing company that is under, I keep saying we. When you hear the song, you keep telling me, you'll know what I'm talking about. But anyway, the House of Otem Publishing, LLC. Okay. So that's the company that this podcast and all those songs are going to be under. And I forced my kids to become a part of that company. So in case something happens, they can take over. But yeah, check it out and give me some feedback. If you like it, click the like button, drop some comments on there. You don't like it, drop some comments on there. And if you really like it and you want other people to hear it, I would be happy if you guys would just go ahead and share it. And I'm always open to feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, so that's the name of the game. And so next episode, I'm going to try to get some of the rest of the political candidates in there. Last we talked to a candidate for county executive. So check that out. It's the episode before this one. And that was a really good conversation. And I've had the opportunity to talk to all the candidates before on different things. So it's one of those situations where you have an election coming up and, and be honest, all of the candidates are actually decent candidates. There's no person you could say, well, oh my God, they can't be, the county executive. They can't be councilman. They can't be senator. They can't be, whatever. No, this area has been blessed to have some really good candidates, and I'm saying winners as well. People who actually won the, past elections. So kudos to the representatives, the politicians, elected officials in the state of Maryland, and specifically Baltimore County and Baltimore City, and the people of Maryland who are lucky to have a great governor, in my opinion, and two great senators and some great House of Representatives, minus Andy Harris. Okay. All right. I'm not going to be biased, but anyway, yeah, Andy Harris has to go. But yeah, you guys, let me know how you like those songs on there, and please share. I'm going to try to do an actual blues album, and I don't care if it sells. I don't care if I make money. I don't care about any of that. I want to make music that I want to hear, and hopefully you'll like it and maybe download it. So we'll see. But, word of the day is going to be, word of the day is going to be timeless. So as you know, at every month we have a, you call it a word of the day for every episode per month. The winner who gets all the words of the day from all the episodes are going to win a surprise. I'm saying a surprise prize. I never tell you what they are because most of the time we don't even know what they are until the last minute. But if you call in to Hot Topics, that's HOTTOPIX podcast at gmail.com. I said call in, but send an email. Everything's timestamped, and you send us what those words of the day are, you will be the winner. Simple as that. There's nothing. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to do anything. So, this is the first episode of January, and so that the last episode when we'll announce it. Get those emails in and win your free prize, your free surprise. So thank you guys for listening. This is actually, we just completed 2 years this month. We completed 2 years, and we're still doing it, and I'm going to continue to do it until I can't do it anymore. But for those who are subscribers and those who listen to our podcasts, those who share our podcasts, those who were guests in past podcasts, I want to thank you guys for keeping me motivated to do the podcast. And there's probably going to be some more changes coming up, but hopefully, everybody will, whatever the changes is going to be. So, till next time.
Thank you, family, for listening to the latest episode of Hot Topics. As usual, listen, like, share, subscribe. Ta!